Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. For guys, I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. I was totally going to review Destination Gold from Only Press today, but it was sold out. My comic book store customers are amazing. They keep trying out small press stuff. They keep trying out creators not familiar with, sometimes because I tell them it's amazing. Destination Kill, I hadn't had a chance to read it, and it had sold out. People were just happy to take a punt on it, and it's really nice to know that the atmosphere and the vibe I put out in this story is kind of working, and people are willing to take some shots because I tell them it's worth taking the shot. The one I'm actually going to review is a bit more Route 1. It is the Barbara Gordon Breakout book, and it is one that I've been looking forward to. First I got Mariko Tamaki on writing, and she's brilliant. I've read a bunch of her stuff, and I've never read anything I've disliked. Alan K. I can't remember how to pronounce his surname, I do apologise, on the art, who I'm not as familiar with, but I do like his stuff. But then you got Tamara Bonvillain on colouring, and she's just a delight. Genuinely is amazing. She's up there in like top 3 or 4 colourists in the industry for me, so whenever I see her name on anything, I am going to give it a punt. This one, though, it's an odd one to get into because when I picked it up, I was thinking this is going to be like a direct follow-on from Batman, the most recent Batman number 9, I'm going to say off the top of my head, which does read very much like it is the setup for this story. It literally ends, and then in the comic book it jumps to a little teaser for this, and it feels like, right, so that entire issue was just setting this up. And I was like, well, does it feel like it's an issue 1 jumping on point, the kind of reviews I prefer to do rather than just jumping in halfway through stories. But when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the story. That Batman issue 9, still I guess, that's the prologue, that's the build-up, that's the very basic understanding that gives Batman and the Bat family a chance to shine, because it's his comic book. This is where we actually do get Barbara Gordon. And I've got to say, Barbara Gordon is a great character. I don't think I've ever really read much in that I've not loved, even stuff where she's not been the main character. I mean, I recently picked up Tom Taylor's first Nightwing volume, and she's amazing in that. But there's also Oracle and the Birds of Prey, Batgirl Burnside is a fantastic wee book as well. One of the few times I've ever, had problematic stuff is the whole Killing Joke, but it's not as bad as the things they changed in the animated movie to try and cover up that. I mean, Lord, that was terrible. But this one I was like, right, okay, so what we're getting here is an actual story about her. And quite nicely, for the setup of it, it gives us way more background into what happened in the Batman book, which is really nice, because it means it separates itself. It's grounding is very much in, this is our story about Barbara, this is her choice, these are her actions, and she is willing to do stuff which some of them in the Bat family would not do. Now, going to jail is not like a unique thing for comic book characters, superheroes or otherwise. John Constantine Hellblazer did a really good one. I think the very first time it was written by an American writer, put it right into the Supermax. It was a brilliant little arc. The end of the most recent Daredevil episode was him in prison, probably inspired by the Zdarsky run that followed on from the Saw run that this last 2 seasons been inspired by. So this is all good. It feels like, yeah, it's a character beat which doesn't come out of nowhere, and it makes sense. We have the added rub of this one that she is the daughter of ex-police commissioner Jim Gordon, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that actually is going to put her in like an overtly dangerous situation right from the get-go. It ties in with an awful lot's going on, but it still centers Barbara really nicely rather than her just being that daughter. And it even kind of centers her as opposed to being a story about all that's been happening in the Batman book. Because yes, we do have quite a lot of city politics which is playing out both in there and Poison Ivy, but I don't mind the fact that it all comes together quite nicely, and the story is good, mostly character based. We don't get like a huge amount of time on Barbara Gordon, but that's fine. We know who she is, she's an established character, and we get little bits and pieces of some background character that's going to play out quite nicely. It looks great. Alan Kay is a really, really nice artist. His character work is brilliant. I feel like he doesn't have quite so much to do, which is a bit of a shame. The cityscape and the prison stuff is really good, but Batman characters all wear costumes, prisoners and guards all have uniforms. There's not much chance to really stamp on an individualistic look there, but when we get to some action sequences, of which there are a few, they are all perfectly pitched. The timing is lovely. You can follow the action really nicely through the layouts, and we don't get lazy, don't trust your reader style art. It all trusts that we can follow along with what's going on. If I had any criticism for this, it's probably just going to be a criticism that I personally have, which isn't really about the quality of the comic book in terms of writing or art. It's just if you're going to do a story about the prison industrial complex with a hero being in there, it feels like this story might not be the best way of looking at the way things actually are. And that's fine, it's a comic book, it doesn't have to do that. But this is explicitly a story about a supervillain who is running a overtly corrupt prison system with a whole bunch of actual criminal ex-cops and ex-guards as the guards in it. I think you can say an awful lot about the prisoners complex by just saying this is actually what things are like when it's run by the people who actually run it, and the guards are the guards you would expect to find. It is still a horrifying situation, and I feel like I would have preferred maybe to see a little bit more of that. Maybe that'll come into it. Maybe we'll get more of just people doing their job in this evil mechanical world of crime and punishment. But for the first issue, I was hoping for a little bit more. But that is literally the only criticism I've got on that. Absolutely loved it. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.